The iPhone 14 is just around the corner and I was thinking about buying it, but I'm in doubt because of the iPhone 13. I've had it for the past 6 months, and when comparing it to similar budget phones, I discovered some interesting stuff that made me look at the upcoming iPhone 14 at a different angle. This video will get you covered with all the details you need to know about the iPhone 13. One of the distinguishing features of the iPhone 13 is cinematic mode. This mode allows you to record videos with a shallow depth of field and at beautiful focus transitions for a cinematic look. Your camera will automatically focus and capture an object and stay focused on it while recording. It does the same with faces as well. If for some reason you have lost focus during the recording or you want to change it altogether, you will be able to adjust the depth of field and focus points of a video taken in cinematic mode right on your iPhone. This is the first time such features are available, and after a few software updates, they work great. And if you're into photography rather than video, there is mask mode, which creates layers on your photos, giving you a wide variety of options to edit them. Will the iPhone 14 have the same features? Obviously, but will they be incomparably better than those on the iPhone 13? Questionable. And I'm making this conclusion based on this Super Retina XDR OLED display that was installed earlier on the iPhone 12. With a 6.1 screen size, we get an increase in brightness 800 nits versus 625 nits in auto mode and up to 1200 nits when viewing HDR content. And when I say an increase, I mean a significant increase. Brightness indeed is an important factor. It allows you to clearly see all the colors, graphical improvements, small detail, and most importantly, it's the face of your smartphone. Yet we still get the same 60 Hz refresh rate, although most smartphones already have 90 and the 13 Pro 120. Again, nothing crucial, but the devil is in the details, and one of those details is Full HD and 30 frames per second. This would definitely satisfy the average user. However, if we're talking about something more professional, there is room for improvement. For example, there's no reason for me personally to put aside my professional camera because I have the iPhone 13. I will only consider doing so if the 14 gets some major improvements. But will it? At the same time, the 13 offers some interesting durability features. It is waterproof, yet still breaks as easily as before.
iPhone 13 Pro is ready for anything, anywhere. God damn it.
And the sticking out camera block doesn't really help to solve this problem either, especially taking into consideration that it's probably the phone's heaviest part as well. And that's where protective cases and screens come into play. That made me thinking. Would you rather prefer the iPhone 14, which lacked any hardware improvements, but was made so strong and durable to the point where it would withstand a 7.64mm bullet fired straight at it? The SE, by the way, is all glass except for the sides. Those are aluminum. Drop it on anything slightly harder than your pillow and you'll probably end up with new spare parts and a thinner wallet. Long story short, it's always better to get protective gear. And that, to be honest, applies to every iPhone. The bulletproof. Okay, shock-proof version would actually be an interesting compromise. Would you rather buy an iPhone that's a few generations old but is 100% shockproof, or would you prefer the newest yet not so durable version? Let me know in the comments below. After the release of iPhone 13, Apple gave us an option to use one SIM card and up to 2 eSIMs. And we're definitely very happy about that. Happy to the point that we now believe this is the new unbreakable standard. Is there anything that Apple needs to change in this particular part of the iPhone? I'm not so sure. It's not really necessary to be fixing something that is not broken. That also applies to the iPhone SE, with the old-favorite Touch ID, yet with barely any differences compared to the iPhone 8. The phone has one camera, 4GB of RAM, doesn't have night mode, however holds up to 64GB of storage. This might sound quite appealing, but wouldn't it be easier and smarter to get an iPhone 13 or 14 if it had a compact or mini version? Yes, it will be more expensive, but the money spent would be justified by the good product. You can't really say the same thing about money spent on the SE. The minimum storage there is now 128GB. Yes, some prefer to get the maximum capacity, but first of all, that's more expensive, and second, I love micro-controlling my files. Anything that I don't need or use, I delete right away, and all that's necessary is always easy to locate. Now, if I had a 512GB option, it would be nice, I guess, but not necessarily. Cloud storage is still an option if you prefer not to fill up your phone It is also partially true that a nearly filled up storage could slow down your phone's performance, but thanks to the Apple A15 Bionic chip based on a 5nm process, that's not a problem anymore. The iPhone 14 is expected to have the A16 Bionic that will come in two versions. Both will have a 6-core GPU but will differ by the number of cores in the graphic processor. Will we feel a major difference? It's hard to tell. When Apple discontinued the 64GB option, everyone was happy, but that's not the case here. For instance, the iPhone 12 has the A14 chip, which is less than A15, that looks good on paper, yet the differences between the phones that are just one generation apart is negligible. As an example, the iPhone XR has the A12 Bionic, and that is very noticeable when you compare the two extremes like the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 10. When comparing the technical specifications of the two, you'll be surprised by the results. However, you shouldn't be shocked since the iPhone XR was discontinued last year. That means that a purchase of a new XR and not the disappointing SE will already come with certain difficulties. After switching your iPhone 10 for an iPhone 13, you will still notice the same notch at the top of the screen. On the iPhone 14, however, Apple is trying to get rid of it altogether. It bothers some people, others don't really care, I understand both views, but as soon as we start hearing rumors about the notch going away, it does make one feel better with all the extra space it could potentially offer. It will make the phone more practical. For example, when you're using GPS while driving, the notch immediately becomes noticeable and irritating. Such a small detail, yet such an annoying one. I want to see the full map. However, you have to admit, it was there before and you do get used to it. And let's be honest, changing your iPhone just because of the notch is a bit too much. Also keep in mind that if they do get rid of it, it's not coming back and the iPhone is updated every year. But there's one more caveat. If you are, let's say, a professional gamer, then the notch will definitely annoy you, since in gaming every pixel counts and the notch eliminates a pretty big chunk of the screen. And that's an important fact since the iPhone by far is the best gaming phone out there, not only because of its GPU and screen, but also because of its battery. The Modest XR holds 2658. The difference is not just noticeable, it's huge. And to please you guys even more, check out the 2000 mAh on the SE. It seems that it was designed for school kids so that the battery will die exactly after classes, so they can concentrate on their homework while it's charging. Yes, we're talking about just a few extra hours of battery life, but when you rely on your phone for photography, business, gaming, it makes a big difference. There are power banks, cables, charge it where there is another cable, but you won't always have this opportunity. If I'm playing NBA 2K for about an hour, with my brightness on max, the battery drains about 15%. Personally, I think that's a great result, since the game is quite graphics heavy, especially when comparing it to chess or checkers. Dim the brightness a bit and it might hold the charge for the whole day. An hour of YouTube on full brightness, on the other hand, will also take approximately 15%. And the notch is still there, by the way. Altogether, using your iPhone 13 without recharging will give you about 6 to 6.5 hours. That's with full brightness and non-stop usage. Taking that into consideration, it is probably a good idea to get a power bank. But there is one essential, comprehensive, and important caveat: throttling. Why even do it? Might be just to show that they can, or maybe it's part of the game, but the developers are racing every year to get the most out of their CPUs. Some might praise it, others might criticize it after running into an overheating phone a few times. Long story short, performance is important, but it's important when you properly use it. When you're playing NBA 2K for about an hour and your phone starts losing its performance due to overheating, the extended battery life suddenly becomes less appealing. Having something and being able to use it are two different things. This problem first appeared in iPhone 13. Will they fix the issue in iPhone 14? Let's hope. Though even competitors from the Android side are facing the same issues. However, we can certainly be pretty positive that another increase to battery life is coming. The iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is the biggest one out there, holds charge approximately 1.5 hours longer than the others. Let's wait with the iPhone 14 numbers. That's yet another reason for people with the iPhone 12 not to rush and buy the 13. iPhone 12 owners don't have the problem that iPhone 13 users hope will be gone in the next generation. However, if you're not really looking into a gaming career, then you probably don't need to worry too much about throttling anyway. iPhone, after all, is a multifunctional device where almost every user will be able to find something for himself without the need to test out the CPU performance to its limits. No matter how you look at it, battery life is probably the most important factor. Without the battery, all the functions and features lose their value until you charge it again. Quite obvious, isn't it? We'll have to wait for the keynote, however, something is telling me that the difference won't be as significant as, for example, the difference between 13 and 15 or even 16. For me personally, one fully charged battery of iPhone 13 is enough to make it through the day. Right around that time, I see 4% of charge and connected to power. By the way, iPhone 13 supports fast charging. It goes from 0 to 50 in just 30 minutes. Keep in mind that it does take a bit longer to get from 50 to 100. iPhone 13, in my opinion, is an improved version of the iPhone 12, which makes the iPhone 12 irrelevant. But will the same happen after the release of iPhone 14? There is doubt, but if you try battling the SE, the price alone won't leave the smaller version any chances. $479 is just over half of what you'll pay for the iPhone 13, the cheapest version of which starts at $799. However, you will get not just a minor improvement, yet a giant step forward in the price-to-quality ratio. And if you decide to wait for the iPhone 14, don't forget to call your friends before unpacking it. Your emotions will definitely serve as the best advertisement Apple could have asked for. If you're thinking why even develop the SE, the answer is India. If you did not expect such an answer, give us a thumbs up. The goal was simple: create an Apple product that would be affordable for the vast majority. And without a budget version, that goal would be unachievable. Unfortunately, that tactic did not work. Standards are developed by the majority. Everything is compared by contrast, and the SE is a huge contrast. For example, the XR costs $599. That's closer to the new iPhone 13, and that slight difference makes you wanna pay a bit extra, since the difference between the two iPhones is pretty significant. However, seems like however is the most popular word in today's video. There is a chance we will see very small changes between iPhone 13 and iPhone 14, yet a pretty big difference in price. So if you're fairly modest and conservative and not really looking into something brand new, probably you will stay satisfied with the iPhone 13 if you're switching from iPhone 10. If you're not chasing the latest version, switching your iPhone XR and obviously the SE3 to the iPhone 13 is definitely worth it. It will easily last you a few years and fulfill your requirements, giving you all the latest tools. If you currently own the iPhone 12, I definitely advise you to wait for the iPhone 14. Worst case, get the 13 Pro. It will probably be the iPhone 14's younger brother. But again, that is the worst case, because chances are that we won't see groundbreaking differences between the iPhone 13 and iPhone 14, just like we did not see them when comparing iPhone 12 and 13. So be just a little patient and trust me, you will be happy. To be even more happy, check out one of the videos you see on the screen, some useful stuff in there, and see you in the next one.